How's it going, YouTube? Welcome back to another video on the channel, and today we are reviewing Photon Hypernova. You already know about this set, but every time a new set comes out, I do a series on the channel called Before You Buy, where I walk you through the important parts of the set and sort of help you decide if you want to pick up a box or two, or maybe, of course, singles, and which one you should pick up depending on what you play. Before we begin, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new. If you want to support the channel even further, click the join button below to learn more about becoming a member of the channel. So the first thing, of course, and this is the most important part of the set, is the new Kashtira support. Kashtira first came out in Darkwing Blast. You have Unicorn, you have Fenrir, really powerhouse cards, but this set takes them to another level. This set is all about Kashtira and making Kashtira a tier 1, possibly tier 0 contender. Right now, nobody's playing, pure Kashtira. It's splashable in a few decks. Maybe you see one or two, shifter Kashtira decks, but this deck takes it to a whole nother level, and it increases the power level of the strategy by a lot. And this is like the boss monster, the Arise Heart, that is basically Macrocosmos on wings, can banish stuff off your opponent's field and attach tons of materials every time a card is banished, none once per turn, by the way. So Kashtira is getting this one. It's getting 3 more main deck monsters, the Rise Heart, which is like a Rhino Heart slash Reich Heart for the archetype, then 2 more additional support cards, which are, of course, the Kashtira Tearlaments and Kashtira Scareclaw, which are more like extenders to the deck, and of course Papyrus, which is a special summon from the deck. It's a spell card, and then the field spell, similar to Pearl Rhino, searching on activation a Kashtira monster. So Kashtira is the big selling point of the set, and if you do want to be a tier 1 competitive player next format, this is something that you should really consider to increase the power level of the deck. Then, of course, for our personal favorite is, of course, the branded support, which is pretty big in this set. We are getting 2 new extra deck monsters, which are going to be huge for the archetype. The first one of them is Grand Guignol, the Finale Dragon, which is a new fusion with Cartesia. And the second one is, of course, Lindworm, the Hammer Dragon, which is a new fusion with a Beast Warrior or Winged Beast type monster, and of course Fallen of Albaz. This is a monster negate. The previous one just dumps from the extra deck to the graveyard, and then it can also float into something like a Despia monster or a Dogmatica monster from the deck. This is something that will be really important support for branded to keep being relevant and competitive. And a lot of people thought the branded lore is over, we're not getting more support cards. This is not true, not in Photon Hypernova, and not even in the set after, which gets probably the most support out of any set, including Dawn of Majesty, for branded and Despia. So these 2 fusion monsters are going to be, the big sellers, probably ultra rare. Maybe one of them is going to be a secret rare as well. I'm betting on maybe even a Starlight, hopefully. And these are going to be essential for you to evolve your branded deck into the new format. And the next card after that is actually a staple that was only a rare in the OCG printing of the set, but this card is, I'm betting this is going to be a secret rare card, and I'm also betting that this is going to be like a $60 card, similar to what we saw with Ultimate Slayer, but this time this is probably going to be playable out of the box more than Ultimate Slayer was, that dropped in price significantly. This is called Triple Tactic Tasking, and this is an evolution for Triple Tactics Talent. And this card, by the way, if you don't know what it does, this says if your opponent activated a monster effect this turn, not main phase, this turn, you set 1 normal spell or trap directly from your deck except this card, and if your opponent controls a monster, you can add that card to your hand. So what this card essentially means is that if your opponent controls a monster and activated an effect, doesn't have to be that monster on the field, you get Ashed, you get Havness, any sort of card interaction from a monster, you can add 1 spell or trap directly from your deck to your hand. Any normal spell or trap card. So this means if you are playing any board breakers similar to Dark Ruler No More or Triple Tactics Talent, you add that immediately to your hand. You can also add things like Terraforming to start off your combo. This card has insane potential. It has seen a lot of competitive play in the OCG, and this will probably be a staple for the next format. A lot of decks will automatically just activate monster effects on your turn, then you search any combo piece, board breaker, starter from your deck that is a normal spell card, and immediately add it to your hand. This is an amazing card, very powerful. I'm expecting it to be very expensive. And another card that is added to a line of very strong monsters that we already know from Darkwing Blast is Bestial Baldrake. And Baldrake has the similar effect of banishing one or light or dark monster from either graveyard and then special summoning it. So similar to all the other Bestials. This card is probably stronger than Saronir, not as good as Druid's Worm, I would say, depending on the deck you're playing, of course. But if your opponent special summons a Ritual, Fusion, Xyz, or Synchro monster, and a Link monster as well, you contribute one light or dark monster other than Baldrake and target those monsters and banish them. So this is an important combo piece for Bestials. It gives you another name, and it's also a very good disruption on your opponent's turn. Druid's Worm has to, be removed from the field, specifically to the graveyard, in order to send. But this card, if they just summon a monster from the extra deck, you can technically, if you have another light or dark monster on the field, you contribute it and banish it. So another important piece for Bestials, another important piece probably for Branded and Despia, of course. We haven't seen this card being played that much in the OCG, simply because not a lot of decks, except for Branded maybe, run the whole Bestial package. But if you are a Branded or Despia player, this is definitely something that you should consider picking up. Hopefully this card is going to be a super rare, similar to all the other Bestials, the small ones, at least not Lubellion. But I am expecting that maybe after, vendors saw the spike in prices, a $20 super rare in Magnamut, they might price this differently in pre-sales. But of course you can also check out tierzerogames.com sort of like a week before the set comes out and find out if you want to purchase this or not. And of course use code GALZO5 when checking out to get 5% off your purchase. Then we have some added archetypes and support. This is the cover card for the set, the Neo Galaxy Eyes Prime Photon Dragon. This is going to be a mouthful on the card. And this is another support for Galaxy. This card can attack up to 3 times. It's a big body, unaffected by your opponent's monster effect. And if you are playing sort of like a Galaxy Eyes strategy for some reason, you should definitely consider picking this up. This is, I'm betting this is going to be an ultra rare and probably, a cheap one at that. More support is Gishki support. We have Evigishki Nerimanas, I think this is what it's pronounced. It's a level 10 ritual monster, and this also brings more power in addition to a new ritual spell that is released in the set to Gishki. We saw some Gishki making it to the tops of some OCG tournaments, and if you do like this ritual archetype, you can definitely pick this up. Another support for an existing archetype is Gigantic Champion Sargas, and this is some Springen support, but it's all in all a pretty crazy Xyz monster that can detach stuff off of other Xyz monsters on the field, add cards from the deck. So this is going to be pretty interesting to see. Probably again another cheap one. And then we have the Tri-Brigade Arms Bicephalus #2, and or Bicephalus II, depending on how you pronounce it. And this is a new Link 5 Tri-Brigade. We've seen Tri-Brigade actually taking some of the top spots in the OCG now that everything got totally nuked. So Tri-Brigade Sprite is actually a deck in the OCG, and they do use this card. This is a Link 5. It's actually not that good, to be honest, but as an extension, or as like a huge boss monster at the end of your combo, this might be super interesting. And then we have some more Dogmatica support. So the ritual side of Dogmatica, the pure version, getting a new monster that is pretty crazy. I am going to make a deck profile on this when this releases. I have all the cards, so I'm building this deck. So this is a pure Dogmatica deck that gets this boss monster and another continuous spell card that adds a ritual monster or a ritual spell from your deck. Really, really powerful. And this card, if you don't know, I am going to make videos about this, so stick around for that definitely. But if you start and you summon this monster, your opponent has to send 1 card per each for each 2 cards in their extra deck to the graveyard from their hand or extra deck. So essentially, if you start going first, game 1, and you summon this on an empty board, your opponent has to send 7 cards from their hand or extra deck to the graveyard. This might not be as good versus things like tier elements, of course, because they get a lot of effects, but this is a very cool and interesting and super fun rogue strategy that I've been testing. Then we are also getting a new Ice Jade support monster, a new level 10 Synchro monster that could definitely be good in stuff like Sword Soul, so a little bit more support for that. And then a lot of Chaos support, some small monsters, main deck monsters, and of course Chaos Archfiend, which is a new like boss Synchro monster for the Chaos archetype, which is really good. But overall, this set is not as powerful as Power of the Elements or Darkwing Blast, but it does continue the same path of power creeping literally everything in Yu-Gi-Oh! With this new boss monster. This deck is going to be pretty insane. I am also building that. This is probably going to be my competitive option for the national season, hoping that nothing gets banned in the way, but we will have to see as the year continues evolving. So I hope you do enjoy that. I hope this helps you think about if you are going to buy some Photon Hypernova boxes or singles. If you do, of course, go over to tier0games.com before the release and pre-order some boxes. Buy the singles. The pre-sale prices on tier0games.com are really good, and I really recommend you checking them out. And of course, use code GALZO5 at checkout for 5% off. Thank you so much for watching, as always, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.